At the age of 14, I was working as a pizza delivery boy for a local pizza place. By that point, I had already been doing the job for months and had completed countless deliveries. My first car was an old, cheap Toyota, perfect for driving around town. It was a Friday or Saturday night, and I was working the closing shift, which ended at midnight. It was already late, definitely past 11 p.m. My boss, who I'll call Mario, handed me the details for another delivery. It was a single pizza for a woman named Karen. What stood out immediately was how far away the address was, about a 15-minute drive. Most deliveries were usually only 5 minutes away, so I expected a decent tip for the extra distance. I grabbed the pizza, got into my car, and drove off while listening to my usual playlist. When I arrived, I noticed the house was small, like most homes in the area, and the neighborhood looked lower income. One room on the first floor had its lights on. As I walked toward the front door, a woman suddenly called out from the neighboring house window. "Excuse me. That pizza is actually for us. We accidentally gave the wrong address." So I walked over to the neighboring house. The doorbell was broken, so I opened the storm door and knocked loudly. There was no response for nearly 30 seconds. I knocked again, and eventually a woman shouted from inside. "1 second." Even then, it took another full minute before the door finally opened. A woman in her mid-40s answered. The moment she saw me, she smiled and slowly looked me up and down in a flirtatious way. "Charles, come look how handsome the delivery boy is." Another woman around the same age walked over and did the exact same thing. I could feel my face turning red because, at that age, I was shy around older women. The woman who opened the door, who I assumed was Karen, asked me what time I got off work. I nervously replied, "This is probably my last delivery." One of them immediately asked, "Do you want to come in and have some wine with us?" I figured my friends would never let me live it down if I turned down the opportunity, so I agreed. Then they asked how old I was. I lied and said, 21. One of the women laughed and said, "We don't care if you're under 21. They told me to sit on the couch, and both women sat on either side of me. The whole situation felt unreal. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. I also had a strong feeling they were already very drunk. They kept flirting with me, complimenting my dimples and calling my shyness cute. I sipped the wine even though I hated the taste because I barely drank alcohol back then. After a while, one of the women said, "We want to show you something in the basement." I laughed awkwardly. "What is it?" They smiled and replied, "It's a surprise." They wanted me to go downstairs first. At that moment, my imagination ran wild about what might happen down there. Unfortunately, reality was far more disturbing. I slowly walked toward the basement doorway and stared into the darkness below. Then I glanced back at the women. Their smiles were gone. They were staring at me with blank, emotionless expressions. When they noticed me looking back, they quickly started smiling again. I asked firmly, "What's down there?" Almost in unison, they replied, "It's a surprise." I carefully started walking down the stairs and asked, "Where's the light switch?" One of them answered, "Leave the lights off." That was the moment something felt seriously wrong. As I looked into the darkness, I thought I saw movement, maybe an arm or a hand. I immediately turned around and saw the two women quietly creeping closer to the basement door behind me. I stepped back upstairs, shut the basement door, and nervously said, "I still need the money for the pizza." As I moved toward the front door, trying to get past them, I suddenly noticed a huge man standing silently in the doorway to another room, probably the kitchen. The 5 words he said have stayed with me ever since. "Let's just make this easy." Instantly, every alarm in my head went off. I turned toward the door and blurted out, "The pizza's free." I threw the door open, ran outside, slammed it behind me, and sprinted to my car. I locked the doors immediately. Within seconds, the man was already outside, standing at my passenger side window. He tried opening the door, then started knocking on the glass. I slammed the car into drive and sped away without looking back. When I got back to the pizza place, I told my boss everything that had happened and explained why I returned empty-handed. Everyone was shocked. Later, I called the non-emergency police line and reported the incident. I figured if anything suspicious was ever reported at that address again, at least the police would know something dangerous might be happening there. To this day, I still wonder what would have happened if I had gone fully into that basement. And honestly, I'm grateful I never found out.